Today, we're looking at a turquoise ink by Lamy called Turquoise. Now, as always, there's timestamps down in the description so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. If you're interested in other turquoise inks, you'll find a link to the playlist down in the description. To try and standardize some of the writing samples, 3 papers are always used: Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia dot pad. Let's take a look at the 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Well, some shade. I mean, the O looks a bit darker than the rest of the word, but not really a whole lot going on here. The extra fine looks a tiny bit darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some shading. When you look at brown, starts darker, works its way lighter. Not tons other than that. 7 seconds to dry. The medium is about the same tone as the extra fine. With no feather spread, halo sheen, a little bit better shading than what we see going on with the extra fine. Brown starts dark, gets a bit lighter, gets darker again. Same with Fox. Darker to slightly lighter to darker. Brown goes jumps, goes light to dark, and goes dark very quick. Dog is a nice mid-tone all the way through. 13 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both of them do show some color variation, although it's more of it in the medium. The smear test you might be able to recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with this Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, this Jinhao X450 with a medium, and this Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a TWSBI Vac Mini with a fine nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. Now we're going to take a look at the second standard paper, 52 GSM Tomoe River. The only spots where we start to see it bleed a bit deeper is at the scrubby, and we don't tend to really hold that against the paper in its performance or the ink because the ink's going on stupid there, and normal Tomoe River ghosting, really not bad. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, and 12 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 26 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. The smear says if you smear this while you're writing, you're not going to recover it with this paper. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down and it's immediately put in the water for 10 to 15 seconds. And it flees away from that water. You see it pushing its way up, and you really do see a very kind of minty green at the bottom of the line at the top, and then the lighter blue. That's where we're getting this turquoise color from. Now the one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it dunks in the water, and that kind of minty green you see really slowly pushing its way up. It's a little more obvious there than it was in the original one, and that blue across the top, still very dark and very there. The last standard paper is 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is about the same tone as the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 8 seconds to dry. The medium is about the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen. There's a couple spots of shading, like brown starts a little darker, gets a little lighter, and into a mid-tone. Fox starts a little darker, gets lighter in the middle, and darker on the end. 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both do show some color variation, although we're not really getting it in the extra fine. And the smear test, you'd likely recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, we do see the top of the lowercase h has a slight bit of blowout. Now, I'm very risk averse, and any kind of blowout in this testing means I probably wouldn't use it if I need to highlight in a note-taking situation. It's for obvious reasons when you look at the water, which is completely removing it from the paper. We're getting a lot of the white of the paper coming through. It only takes water to get this out of your pen. Pen Flush does everything that water does and nothing more, and the 1/3 bleach solution, as you would expect, completely removes it from the paper. Additional writing samples are done on different papers that change up all the time, and this paper is TWSBI notebook paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade kind of nice. The starts lighter and gets darker. Quick starts dark, gets light, and gets dark again. Brown starts darker and works its way lighter all the way through, where over starts light to dark. Great shading here in 7 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, almost as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen. It shows moments of shading. The word fox is a bit lighter than the word quick. Over goes from light to dark, and lazy goes from a mid-tone to a lighter tone. 12 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both, well, scrubby for the medium shows only a little color variation, although, there is some there. Extra fine shows some color variation, and there is some in the writing. The smear test, you probably would not be able to recover this if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, there is an average viscosity or flow of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Lamy Turquoise has a viscosity of 3.99, making this a very dry ink. The last writing sample is done on black and red notebook. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is slightly lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does have moments of shade. Look at how brown goes from darker to lighter, over from lighter to dark. Jump goes from light to dark to mid to dark. Pretty nice, and 8 seconds to dry. Medium is a bit darker than the extra fine, not quite as dark as the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it does offer some shading, because if you look at the word over, it's much lighter than the word quick. Jumps goes from a mid-tone to dark. Pretty nice, and 14 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both does show a little bit of color variation. We're getting it some up here in the writing. And the smear test, you probably couldn't recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Lamy Turquoise, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I decided to match this turquoise with a color that's not going to draw attention away from it. A very nice black. Blackstone's Barrister Black. So what do I think of Lamy Turquoise? In general, I'm not a fan of Lamy inks. This one is an exception. I like how this color comes across on the page. It even has decent shading. Now, it's not a ton, but it's enough to have some character. A bonus is when it's from a brand that you aren't a fan of and you can like that ink. I don't know why, but I don't care for many Lamy inks. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience? I found that a medium flow broad put down enough ink that it allowed it to get some of the nice shading along with some of that great color. Now the shading you're going to get isn't going to be huge standout amounts. It's just enough to give it a bit of a something extra on the paper. I hope you got something out of this video, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow when we look at Noodler's Grün Cactus Eel.